What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing another video. Today I'm bringing a video on Power Rangers. This video is focused on Power Rangers and Hasbro. Now, for those who don't know, Power Rangers back in February during Toy Fair 2018 confirmed that they would now have their master toy licensor become Hasbro. Now, for those who don't know, Hasbro is probably one of the most, if not the most, successful toy companies out there as far as producing toys. So they're going to become the master toy licensor, which is great. Many people are excited about that. Some are less than others because some people do like what Bandai America did. But at the same time, what we do end up hearing as of today is that now it's official that Power Rangers will be owned entirely by Hasbro. Yes, so that means the show, that means the toys, that means all the property links and everything will be owned. And several other Saban properties apparently are also going to end up being owned by Hasbro, which is not a bad thing. Could be very interesting. It's unclear as to whether or not that means that older shows that Saban maybe did could come back. Maybe. You never know. I mean, Saban has had other shows other than Power Rangers, for those who do not know. So it is a possibility that that could happen. Now, as far as how much money Hasbro ended up having to spend to get Power Rangers from Saban brands, $522 million, which is a really good thing. Saban brands definitely shows that they can, you know, say that they're worth that for this, that this franchise is worth that. And the fact that Hasbro believes that that's the correct, that they're willing to pay that kind of money, shows that the franchise is in a good place. Again, you may remember back when Saban ended up trying to reacquire Power Rangers from Disney, they only paid about $100 million. And the thing was that Disney originally bought Power Rangers from Saban for about $3.2 billion. So think about that. You know, Power Rangers back when Disney bought it was at a really good place. Like, I mean, it was doing super well still. And when Disney acquired it, don't get me wrong, there are some amazing Power Rangers seasons from the Disney era, but just how they ran it, how they were able to make people see it, because again, they started off with it being on ABC Family, which is like a really prime time channel where people can, you know, watch the show and there's a better chance of a kid seeing it, as opposed to what they ended up doing towards the later years, where it started moving to like Jetix and those kind of stations, which people watch them, but it's not as successful. You know, that's really their secondary channels, and that's the thing that really started to drop the sales of the franchise. And the fact that, you know, Saban brands really values it so high, and the fact that Hasbro is willing to pay the kind of money that they are, is a really good thing. It does show a lot of promise, and it shows that, you know, Hasbro believes in the franchise, and the Power Rangers franchise has, you know, gotten strong enough that they can support a greater value than they once were at. Again, the fact that it dropped so significantly, it's amazing, it's sad, but at the same time, the fact that we are in an uptilt for the franchise, it's really cool. I mean, again, I know I'm talking like a business person in a way. It's only because, you know, to me, the Power Rangers franchise is such an important franchise to me. You know, I love it. I do so many videos on it because it's something that I've always really been fond of, and, you know, hearing these kind of things is really interesting. Now, what this also means is that we will be moving into a new era of the Power Rangers franchise. As many of us who are fans of the franchise know, there was the original era, which was the Zordon era, then there was the Saban era, and then there was the Disney era, the Neo Saban era, which is what we're currently into, and then I guess they'll be having the Hasbro era, which will be from Beast Morphers onward to some point. We don't know how long that will last. Could last 5 years, could last 10 years, could last 2 years. We have no idea right now. But it is a very cool thing to note. I'm very excited about that. But I do want to give you guys some official words that we got from Hasbro, because there was some information dealt out. Power Rangers, and this was well, what does it say here? Let's see. So there was a quote that was said by the Hasbro CEO, Brian Goldner, which he said, "Power Rangers is an iconic brand built on the heritage of a great story great storytelling, merchandising with tremendous upside potential when fully executed across Hasbro's brand blueprint. Shortly after entering into our licensing arrangement, it became clear that now was the time to begin investing in unlocking Power Rangers' full potential. I like that. We see significant opportunity for Power Rangers across our entire brand blueprint, including toys and games and consumer products, digital gaming, as well as entertainment, as well as geographically throughout our global retail footprint. We couldn't be more pleased that Hayam Saban will continue in consulting role to further guide our development of this valuable property for the next generation of Power Rangers fans. Now, if you're wondering what that sound was, it's a car, so if you're hearing background noise, keep it in mind. As far as things go, the fact that Hayam Saban is going to be consulting the role for to further guide the development and valuable property for the next generation of Power Rangers fans, that makes me excited, because what that means is that this time, when, you have to remember something, when Disney acquired the Power Rangers franchise, originally they just bought it outright and there was no consulting going on, I don't believe. Like, it was pretty much, they owned it, they did their own thing with it. This time around, it sounds like Hayam Saban is keeping an eye on its property and still letting them own it. So in other words, they're making sure that the things that we love are there, but at the same time they're letting Hasbro take that full on, like, take the primary lead here, which is really good, because I think that means that, Hasbro can do their own thing, but at the same time, it's not like Saban isn't involved. And again, don't get me wrong, I know people sometimes blame Saban for certain things that the franchise has done in recent years, but at the same time, I think that, them keeping an eye on their franchise is not a bad idea, just because of the fact that, even if you're not the biggest fan of what they've done in recent years, it does bring some hope to them not doing something like Disney did in later years, where they weren't really, caring about it as much, even though there were some great seasons towards the end. So keep that in mind, that all this and more is good. It's actually a very good thing, even if it's not exactly, whether you have a positive opinion about Hasbro and their properties or not, it's all you. But I think that this does make me feel a little bit more comfortable and makes me, more interested to see what Hasbro will do. As far as things go otherwise, we also ended up hearing from Hayam Saban that 25 years after launching the Power Rangers franchise, I believe the future for this brand has never been greater. Hasbro's leadership in innovation, storytelling, and brand stewardship make it the perfect company to further develop global reach and appeal of the Power Rangers property. I look forward to working with Brian and the team in the years to come, which is good, because that means that he's working with them. Again, that's my whole point. I like that. That makes me happy, because it makes me feel like, okay, they're not just gonna, they're not just hanging over their child and not keeping an eye that things are being taken care of properly, which is really important, because what that means is, now they can make sure that if there's something wrong, they can still step in and, help adjust things so that there aren't those kind of issues, while still letting this major company get in there and take a large portion of the control, which is so good. Like, I think that it makes me hopeful of really good things to come for Power Rangers. The fact that these two companies are going to work together and do it in a way where, Hasbro has this great reputation, and then Saban has their long-lasting history with the franchise. It's very, very good. It sounds like a very promising setup, and I can't wait to see how that will obviously all come out to be. As far as other things go, let's see here. It was also confirmed that, originally they spent $22.25 million to get the Master Toy license for the Power Rangers franchise. But now there will be an additional payment of $229.75 million in cash, and will issue $270 million worth of Hasbro common stock for the Power Rangers brand. So that means that Hasbro's buying into a large portion of stock through these two, investments. So that's really good, because that means that they're putting a lot of money in favor of the company, and then in favor of the franchise, and then also money that's going into just paying up to own it in a way. So that's really good stuff. It makes me very excited just to see where things will go from here. As far as when we'll get to see our first real look of all that and more, again, what will probably happen is that we'll finally get to see what the products will look like for Hasbro in August of this year. I would imagine probably around the time that Power Morphicon happens, we should be seeing in the display cases that they have there our first official look of what the products will look like for the future, which is very cool. And that will be great to see. Hopefully the quality will be improved for those that don't like what we have currently, and then we have to wait and see how the figures will look, if they'll have figures there and all that and more. Maybe they'll add new lines, maybe they'll have more monster figures, maybe they'll have new lines that we've never even considered to be a possibility. You never know. I'm very excited about this, and I can't wait to see how these figures and merchandise will look when we get to see that in the future. I'm also looking forward to seeing how the show will be. Again, with Hasbro taking over, now it's a whole new mindset. So if you complain about the show, you have to take into consideration that it's not just Saban now. It's going to be Saban that's still going to be involved in some way, but Hasbro is going to be taking the majority of the ownership here. So again, now we have two different minds kind of working together making this show. So maybe things could work out really well. Maybe not. But my way of thinking about it, and this is the way that I think that people should look at it, is this. Hope for everything, but expect nothing. And the reason why I say that is because when you hope for everything, anything can happen. Hope for not everything, anything. Hope for anything. In other words, meaning, it could be great, it could be bad, but just hope for something. But at the same time, don't expect anything, because of the fact that you never know. It could be the worst thing ever. It could be the most amazing thing ever. And that's the whole point. Expect anything. No, what am I saying? Hope for anything, expect nothing. That is the key thing to remember here. Don't expect anything, because you don't want to get your hopes up either way. You don't want to think it's bad, and you don't want to think it's great until we know. So that's my way of looking at it. Again, for some of you, you might think, oh, it's going to be the worst thing ever, and some of you might think it's going to be the greatest thing ever. And until we know officially, I don't want to make any assumptions, because it's way too soon to say, especially now with us not even having any footage or anything to really go off of, or even any merchandise to really go off of. We can't really get a clear indication as to what the franchise will be like in the near future. But just in general, I'm excited. I can't wait to see where this will go. I'm happy that Saban Brands will still be involved. I think that it's great that Haim Saban will still have some involvement, even if people don't necessarily always like what he does with the franchise. I think that it's going to be a good thing. I think that this is something that makes me more hopeful that, they can watch what they do and make sure that it doesn't become another Disney situation where the franchise tanks and it doesn't do so well in the end, viewership wise. Even if the show is great, if the viewership is not good, that's the part that is really important to remember, because that's the thing that people don't understand. People think, oh, these are great Disney seasons. They're great seasons, but did they do well as far as viewership? No. That's what's important to remember here. So for those that are wondering about that, and many of you who are fans of the franchise that think about Disney seasons as being these wonderful things, they are great, but that's the thing that's always important to remember. That's why they ended up moving things. It's because of the viewership. It's because of their attention and how much they cared about the franchise. Again, Hasbro is showing that they care, and that's what I like to see. I want to see that they're caring about the franchise, that there's involvement, that they're doing things right, and that's my opinion. Again, for you guys, you might think differently, so please remember to leave your comments below. Again, I would love to hear your guys' opinions. Maybe you guys think the same way I do. Maybe you guys think completely differently, but please leave your comments below, because I'd love to chat with you guys and hear your guys' opinions. So till then, guys, I'm Crazy Samurai 71, and goodbye, guys.